This is Dr. Sam Graber, and you're listening to Silently Slipping into a Deafening Internal Echo Chamber, episode number 70 of the Unraveling Together podcast. Allow me to paint the scene for you. In it, there sits a woman. She could be anyone you know. To the outer world, she is strong and centered. She is the one everyone else turns to in times of trouble. All the while, she sits at rock bottom, where she slips silently into a deafening internal echo chamber, steeped in red wine, alone with her thoughts, unable to escape. And you'd never know it from looking at her there, where she sits. That woman was me in 2017. Those thoughts were dark yet telling of an awakening to come. I had no clue what they were trying to tell me, though, back then in 2017. See, I'd never sat with my thoughts before, and truth be told, I wanted to do anything but sit with these thoughts. They were not kind, nor were they helpful. At least not until I fine-tuned my listening skills and started speaking their language. At that point in time, my inner thoughts were ruthless, bent upon ripping me apart at the seams. It was as if they were trying to expose everything I'd hidden from myself and everyone else over a lifetime. Though it almost broke me, this reconciliation was something I desperately needed. You see, I'd always been moving, right? Like never did I just sit with my thoughts. Sure, I'd go to a yoga class here and there, but true to form, I'd rush through those, half my mind on, am I doing it right? And the other half was already ticking away at my to-do list after class. When I was in motion, doing all the things, I had no time to self-examine. Much like the people I now serve, I was existing to serve others at the expense of myself. There comes a point in every woman's life when her body mounts a mutiny. Her mind rides shotgun and appears to be reading a map of Mars upside down. All in all, it is a tumultuous time and a downright confusing one as well. Not to mention lonely. This time in life can be so very lonely. That was what I was experiencing back in 2017, and I was doing it in the closet, marinating in shame because I should power through it like I did every other thing in my life, just like a modern independent Wonder Woman. Now, growing up, I idolized Linda Carter, so it's no wonder that I stepped forth and channeled her in everything I did. To add to my shedfest, I am a seasoned holistic doc with then 25 years of direct patient care under my belt, though expanding at the time, and I was completely blindsided by what was happening to my own body and brain right around the 45-year marker. Turns out, I was in perimenopause. I was intellectually prepared and actually looking forward to menopause, mind you. I had no desire to get pregnant again. In fact, it was a worry and totally tanked my libido even prior to perimenopause. I couldn't wait to no longer be fertile, so I was welcoming menopause with open arms. But, and it's a big but, I had no idea that along with the changes in my period, I'd experience a flood of trauma residue that would all but take me out of the game. And that trauma residue, it's from unresolved trauma. Now, I can't say I was suicidal, but I didn't want to stay alive. That felt like too much. Just as I'd almost let go, I'd find strength returning to my grip, and that back and forth, that went on for a few years. You see, there is no powering through perimenopause. In fact, in my experience, the more you try to power through, the more Peri pushes back, and hard. She finds all the cracks in the fabricated facade and mercilessly exploits them. For our own good in the long run, it turns out, but in the thick of it, she's one hell of a bitch to go toe-to-toe with. Now, during one of my spiritual pleadings early on in this transition, I vowed that I would not let another woman suffer through perimenopause like I was if I just made it through it. Ever pray to the porcelain gods? It was like that, but the nauseating head spinning feeling did not end in 24 hours or less. I was having a very difficult go at it, and looking back, I am not sure how I held on in the beginning. As of this moment, I'm still in the throes of peri, but I am no longer going it alone, and you don't have to either. No matter where along the hormonal continuum you find yourself today, if you jive with my vibe, I invite you to look into the community of midlife women I'm cultivating around me. Midlife is fluid in timing, and I see it as that time in which we have some life experiences that have both humbled as well as inspired us. We know there is so much more we want to explore, so we're willing to rally and set forth on a path that actually serves us. It is at this point in life that we know certain things or circumstances need to change, but as I transparently share herein, even those of us who serve others in their healing need an outside assist. A seasoned perspective from those who've been there, done that, compresses the learning curve in life. It also helps us proactively prepare for what is yet to possibly come. I love to learn new things. Consider me a perpetual student of life. Now, all too often, I would study and study, yet fall short on application. This was especially true when it came to my personal development journey. I am a perfectionist in recovery. Oh yeah, you betcha. But back in 2017 and 2018, that aspect of me ran amok. Remember the spiritual pleadings I mentioned just a moment ago? I made good on my promise by bringing the Unraveling Together community to life. The Unraveling Together community is where midlife women connect and pursue a more holistic approach to our changing bodies and minds. We focus on our well-being, our metabolism, and our menopause experience during as well as after we hit that magical milestone. Through master classes and co-working sessions, we cultivate more meaning in our individual lives while tapping into the collective wisdom of women. So, who am I and why am I sharing my deepest, darkest? Before I share more on that, I want to extend a very heartfelt thank you for listening to some of my deepest, darkest thoughts on life, love, and business. If you've listened this long, chances are something I shared spoke to you. I am committed to being a brave space for myself as well as others. Unlike a safe space, a brave space is where we embrace our deepest, darkest as our true selves, flaws and all. If you're new to me, I'm Samantha Graber, also known as Dr. Sam. I am an author, podcast host, keynote speaker, and a holistic perimenopause coach for women who are ready to stop sacrificing their health and well-being as they relentlessly pursue success. I advise forward-thinking organizations on well-being and menopause-related policy creation and provide their workforce with online resources as well as small group coaching. The organizations I choose to work with are ready to up their level of support for the women in their ecosystem, from the private sector to the publicly funded as well as nonprofits. These entities value the collective wisdom of women, and they want to retain the leadership and talent lost all too often because women lack the resources needed to optimize their well-being. Therefore, they are left with no other choice than to seek support elsewhere. I help organizations empower women by choice. After a multi-decade career as a holistic chiropractor, I've orchestrated my own transformation from burnt-out doc to impassioned community curator. The Unraveling Together community is where midlife women connect and pursue a more holistic approach to our changing bodies and minds. Again, we focus on our well-being, our metabolism, and our menopause experience during as well as after we hit that magical milestone. Through masterclasses and co-working sessions, we cultivate more meaning in our individual lives while tapping into the collective wisdom of women. Look to the episode notes for where you can find me online. Until next time, take good care of yourself and each other.